All right, in 4.3, we're moving into kind of the key section of this chapter, all right, and the key concept of this chapter, which is that of congruent triangles. All right, so congruent triangles are two triangles that have the same shape, all right, and size. All right, so when we look at this, the definition of congruent triangles really states that two triangles are congruent if and only if corresponding parts are congruent. All right, and that means we really have 6 equalities we're going to be working with, because there's going to be 3 pairs of congruent sides and 3 pairs of congruent angles. Now, in symbols, we're looking at the congruent symbol. This is a combination of the similarity symbol and the equality symbol. All right, so this is congruent. And then we're also going to often say, like, congruent triangles imply, and then corresponding parts congruent. Now, a lot of times we'll just say CPCTC, which represents corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So when we look at example 1, we have a lot of congruences marked here, so we're going to go ahead and just start transferring those over to the list on the right. So it looks like A and R are congruent, because they have the same markings. It looks like B and T are congruent, because they have the same markings. And it looks like C and S are congruent, because they have the same markings. All right, so those are our 3 equalities that are associated with the angles in these 2 triangles. All right, then I go to the sides. So AB has 2, like a cross. RT has the same cross. So AB and RT are congruent. All right, BC is the 1 tick mark. ST or TS, all right, is the corresponding side. And then AC, all right, AC has 2 marks. That corresponds to RS. All right, so then we would ask us to pick the corresponding pieces. So the corresponding spots are the spots that are congruent to each other. So it looks like A corresponds to R, B corresponds to T, and C corresponds to S. And I'm really using this information we had about the angles, all right, to help me answer that. Now, the nice thing is, once we have the correspondence, we can write a congruent statement about the 2 triangles. All right, once we've verified that all angles are congruent and all sides are, we can write a congruent statement. Now, the order of the letters, so when I write the second triangle, do matter. All right, the first spot has to correspond with the first spot of the original triangle. All right, so this is triangle ABC. So I need things to correspond with A, B, and C in that order. So A corresponded with R, so triangle R, T with B, and S with C. All right, so we have a congruent statement that triangle ABC is congruent to RTS. All right, the order of those are important because they tell us what those corresponding parts are. All right, if I change the order, I'm changing the meaning of that statement. So in example 2, it says, list the 6 corresponding parts if angle DEF, triangle DEF, and triangle FGH are congruent. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark up the picture. So angle DEF and triangle FGH. So D and F are in the same spot, so they correspond to each other. So I'm going to go ahead and mark those. All right, then we've got E and G are in the second spot. All right, so those are going to correspond, so I mark those. And F and H are in the third spot, so I'm going to go ahead and mark those. Now, at this point, I really have my angle congruence. All right, so I have angle D is congruent to angle GFH. I need 3 letters because there's a lot of angles there. I have angle E is congruent to angle G. All right, and then I have angle EFD is congruent to angle GHF. All right, so now I've got my angle congruence. Then I'm going to go through my sides. Now, I can use the label to do that. DE and FG. All right, so those 2 are congruent. All right, because they're the first piece in each. Then I can go to EF and GH. All right, so EF and GH are congruent, second two of each. And then I'm going to have a pair from the first and the last. So DF is congruent to FH. All right. And that takes us through the 6 congruent statements that are associated with those two triangles. All right, now pushing into example 3. Example 3, which triangles could not be congruent to the other triangles? So it looks like we have some angle markings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the third angle of each, because that'll at least tell me that we're dealing with triangles of the same size. So 85 plus 60, that's going to be 145. That leaves 35 left. All right, and the next one I have 60 plus 45. 60 and 45 is 105. That leaves 75 for the last one. All right, then I have 75, 60. That leaves 45. And then I have 45, 75. That leaves 60. All right, this asks which triangle could not be congruent to the others. So it has to be the one with the different angle sizes, because there's no way that could be the same shape. It might be the same size, it might have the same area or some other feature, right? But it can't be the same shape as the other triangles because it doesn't share the same angle measures. All right, so that one is excluded. All right, that's page 1 of today's notes. I'll be back with the second video for page 2.